Hey YouTube, Socialism on Roids here with another nuclear powered rant. That's Socialism on Roids, formerly known as Active Asshole on Roids, formerly known as Active Asshole on Pills. Kryptonite for conservatives. Well, maybe not kryptonite for conservatives in this day and age as much as I am kryptonite for centrist Democrats, but in the recent few years, these last few years, the centrist wing of the Democratic Party and the people who keep throwing their weight behind them have basically proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that they never really saw us as equal partners in the party, and they have no intention of actually allowing us to have any kind of agency within the Democratic Party's coalition, as evidenced by the use of their red to blue program in weeding out progressive challengers in the 2018 midterm elections, and with the passage of their consultant venue blacklist by Cheri Boosta, the chair of the DCCC, back in March. So yeah, yeah. So I'm when former Hillary voters start showing their asses and they started worming their way into the roles of moderators and admins across social media platforms and began using those positions, essentially hiding behind those positions to make war on former Sanders supporters within the ranks of the Democratic Party, especially on social media. Yeah, I saw it coming, but I didn't really think they'd start as early as January. That shit hit me right out of left field. I was just like, damn, people, you at least waited until 3 months in before you start pulling this shit back in 2016. They're literally hitting the ground running with the intention of essentially turning 1968 into 1932. It's I've never seen anyone, I've never seen a group of people this desperate to alienate half of their own party in the service of people who don't give two shits about them. It is just, I mean, I used to think Republicans, this kind of behavior was indicative of a Republican, but but when you have stories like, say, a fellow Sanders supporter being run off the road in Michigan by a couple of old ladies with a Hillary bumper sticker on their car. It shows you just how far down the rabbit hole a lot of these centrist bootlickers really are. They've thrown whatever moral compass they have under a bus out of fear for Donald Trump. I mean, FDR once said, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself," and it's like the centrist wing of the Democratic Party has taken that old adage, balled it up, and just tossed it into file cabinet 13. They don't even care. They don't care about policies. They use this whole cute little "believe no matter who" mantra as a stand-in for actual policy. They don't want to. They don't really want to pursue any kind of meaningful reform because they're so terrified that their donor class will pull the plug on them and they'll lose their gravy train. But what gets me are all of these centrist Democrats, these centrist voters, who essentially are content to follow behind who the establishment pick. I mean, the thing is, if I could believe that these centrist voters were sincere, if they actively made an effort to find a centrist candidate who wasn't who wasn't a sellout, they could run a centrist, well-meaning candidate who has no who has no ties to Wall Street or the banking industry if they wanted to, but they're not gonna. They don't really give a shit about reform. They don't care about money in politics. They don't care about the detrimental effects that money has on democracy any more than Republicans do. Otherwise, guess what? If they really agreed with us on this stuff, they would make an active effort, to apply some fucking standards. So, yeah, So 2020 is going to be worse than 2016 because they've committed themselves to this. They've made their hill to die on with this war against the progressive wing of their party. And what gets me are the people from the Hillary from the Clintonista crowd, these New Democrats coalition centrist assholes who these third way types. What gets me just I wow, I lost my train of thought there. It's they okay. Okay, now I remember what I was going to say. Again, I'm not editing these videos; they were made on the fly, so you have to get used to all my foibles and stuff. Because again, lots of medication. Mind isn't exactly 100% like it used to be. I've seen a lot of problems over the years, and my mental state has deteriorated almost as much as Joe Biden's. But unlike him, I'm willing to admit it. All right. That being said, uh, what gets me are all of these centrists who will get up there and vouch for, say, Biden and even Warren. I mean, now it's like they're getting it through their heads that Biden is going to sink like a rock. Well, he looks like he's starting to sink. According to this recent poll that showed Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren outpacing Biden because he dropped 13 points in the freaking poll. So he's tanking. I mean, he's basically going the way of Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg. So I guess now all these former Hillbots are jumping on Warren's candidacy. Again, I want to put it out here. Let me just put this out here right now. Elizabeth Warren is like my number two choice in the event that Bernie Sanders can't get the nod. That being said, she is not Bernie Sanders. I mean, her yes, she may not be taking money from political action committees, sorry, from political action organizations. She may not be taking money from political action people. Come on, man. All right, she may not be taking money from PACs in the primaries, but she has no problem doing it during the general, and she's stated as much. Trying to hide behind the whole unilateral disarmament excuse, and I'm just like, Elizabeth, you don't need that you don't need to sell out in the fucking general. It's not when you sell out that's the problem for many of us. It's the fact that you intend to sell out at all. Okay, so that being said, I do like Elizabeth Warren's plans for creating a state-run pharmaceutical company that will force drug companies to lower their prices. That's, to me, that's a great plan. I like that, and I like the fact that she is hell bent on regulating the banking industry, which is a big reason why Wall Street fucking hates her guts almost as much as they do Bernie Sanders. That being said, that being said, the fact that so many within MSNBC and CNN are trying to slowly pivot towards rehabilitate, basically, well, not rehabilitating. They're trying to do that for Biden, but I mean, failing miserably. But they're trying to pivot towards dressing her up into a better candidate than she actually is. I think, and the fact that she's trying to work with party insiders behind closed doors, and Bernie Sanders, he's stuck to his guns and he's simply not going to do that. I just, it raises questions. Okay, I mean, I'll vote for her if she gets the nomination, but that being said, if she tries to pull the same shit with us that Barack Obama did when he decided to pull a general election pivot after he got our votes. Many people tend to forget, but had it not been for progressive voters, Barack Obama wouldn't have beaten Hillary's base in the Democratic Party. He wouldn't have gotten enough support to finally put himself over the top. So you know, and Elizabeth Warren, she's no Barack Obama. There's no way she'd be able to make that shit work with the progressive base. There's no way she'd be able to do that, and because not just because I don't think she's really as savvy as Obama is when it comes to politics, but she she the current political environment is such that progressives are a lot more aware of what's going on. They're a lot more sensitive to that. That we have our eyes out for that kind of thing now. So if she tries that shit, her campaign will be sunk. All the independents and other folks who would have voted for Bernie Sanders, they're gonna exit stage left, and it'll be a second Trump term. So, all I got to say to her campaign is this: tread softly, because if it looks like you're trying to pull trying to pull a Hillary Clinton or a Barack Obama on us, Warren, you are done if that's the case. Take this warning while you can, and just take it to heart. Um, I should get to the actual subject matter of the video now, which isn't really going to take up that much of the video. At least I don't think it will. But I wanted to make this video about Joe Biden and his supporters and all that stuff, and somehow I got off on Elizabeth Warren, but some of the criticisms I have for Warren largely stem from some of my criticisms I have for Biden, and uh, I just Joe Biden, he just needs to fucking give it up. He needs to go home. He needs to just spend what's left of his life in retirement, because he's probably the single weakest candidate we've had in our lifetime. Obama's halo notwithstanding, he is the single weakest Democratic candidate we've had in our lifetimes, and we've had Clinton as a candidate, I'm not saying that. I'm not just blowing smoke out of my ass when I say this. For one, he's on record. He's gone on record insulting the largest generational voting bloc in the country. Millennials surpassed baby boomers as a segment of the voting age population back in 2018, for the first time in 2018 definitively. And our voter participation, our turnout was up 80% in the 2018 midterm elections. And Joe Biden, he's already gone on record saying he has no empathy for our generation. He doesn't care about us, and he's antagonized us. He's made jokes at our expense. I mean, the man is trapped in the 1990s. He still believes that his particular generation are the ones who have the clout. That's not the case anymore. And for whatever reason, he and Hillary Clinton and all the recent Democratic candidates that we've seen for president, the U.S. Senate, whatever, have got it in their heads that somehow they own our votes, as if they don't have to earn our votes. They want to put the onus on millennials, on the voters themselves, and they think that somehow that whole vote blue no matter who bullshit, which is basically just a backhanded insult at Bernie supporters, because they're directing it at us essentially, ignoring the fact, of course, that 25% of Hillary Clinton's supporters in 2008 broke away from the Democratic fold to vote for John McCain, which is like twice the level of people who broke away from Sanders' camp to vote for Trump in 2016. But they conveniently forget that. But getting back to what I was saying before, the son of a bitch has made it his mission in life to essentially insult, denigrate, and deride people who are part of the largest voting bloc in the country. And he doesn't think we're not gonna remember that if he gets the nomination. Hell, the man is that's like a dead on arrival kind of thing. I mean, mm, um, and then there's the fact that his mental state is a little better than Donald Trump's. I mean, come on, the man is a gaff Maserati at this point. He he can't go he can't go 5 minutes without putting his foot in his mouth, and he's showing the early signs of dementia and all this. And there's just he is just I just I don't understand how anyone can defend this man. I just how they think this is going to end well in any way. I mean, this he's just he's uh, and then there's his voting record. Where do I even start with this? I mean, the fucker co-authored the bankruptcy laws of 2005 that hurt tens of millions of Americans by making it where we couldn't get out from under crippling debt. And he did that on the BS to the credit card industry. He co-authored that shit with the Republicans, and on top of which he has a history of being anti-choice when it comes to women's issues. He's he's just, and don't even get me started on the harm his voting record has done to minority communities, and yet for whatever, well, of course I know why they like him, because they many people don't really want to think about the fact that maybe uh, you know that maybe the only reason he became Barack Obama's VP was because Barack Obama figured that Evan Bides would not be as politically advantageous, but as a VP. But it's but they seem to think, oh, uh, uh, Barack Obama's vice president good, Bernie Sanders bad, even though Bernie Sanders was arrested marching with Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement and everything. But they don't really care about that. They don't care about the history of the voters. They don't really care about their history unless it's time for selective outrage. You know, so then there's the other the probably the most important one on my short list of things. I mean, I could have made a longer list before I made this video, but you know, it is what it is. Um, he is one of the co-founders of the New Democrats coalition, that is the centrist coalition within the Democratic Party. Now, every sitting Democratic president associated with the New Democrats coalition has seen their party lose both houses of Congress and the majority of the governorships and state legislative chambers 2 years into their first term. 2 years into their first term. Okay? How are we to believe that this isn't going to happen a third time if Joe Biden winds up becoming president? If Joe Biden is elected president, we are looking at a potential right-wing backlash, a right-wing resurgence similar to the Tea Party and the Gingrich Revolution from the 90s. I mean, we lost hundreds of seats during Clinton's tenure as president. As a party, the Democratic Party lost hundreds of seats. We completely lost the South. I mean, we used to be able to get U.S. senators and governorships elected in the South. We weren't able to do that following 1994. It's like the complete and utter destruction of the Democratic Party in large swaths of the country came about during that time period. And we've never been able to recover. And we lost over 1,000 seats during Obama's administration. At all levels of government, we lost over 1,000 seats. All the hard work we did in 2006 and 2008, down the toilet. And if history's any indicator, it's going to happen under Joe Biden. You know, say what you want to about Jimmy Carter, but He was the last sitting Democrat who was not associated with the New Democrats coalition. And he was the last sitting Democrat to not see the Democratic Party lose at all levels of government in the midterms following his inauguration. And then there's the fact, the big elephant in the room in my probably not as important as the fourth reason that I put forward, but about Joe Biden's affiliation with the New Democrats coalition. But it's something to think about. There's the fact that Biden, he really has no party loyalty. I mean, the guy works with Republicans and pushes the Republicans' agenda more than he ever did, even the centrist Democrats' agenda. That should tell you something. I mean, the fucker campaigned for Republican candidates in 2018. During the 2018 midterms, when we needed a Democratic wave to put a buffer between us and Adolf Twitler, the orange would be Hitler, the son of a bitch was campaigning for Republican candidates. Need I say more? Now, I understand why a lot of these people support Joe Biden. It's not because they really support him. They don't like Joe Biden. I mean, these fuckers. Anyone who says who claims they love Joe Biden is lying through their fucking teeth. Joe Biden. The last three times this guy ran for president, he couldn't get more than 3% of the delegates. Many of these people are old enough to remember just how cringy Joe Biden has been in all of his other runs. They're lying, both to themselves and to us. They cannot name one reason other than, oh, he was Obama's VP, for why they're behind him. Or at least they're not willing to name one openly that could give away the ghost, so to speak. No, it's because for them, Biden represents the only thing standing between them and having to vote for Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren, mostly Bernie Sanders, in the general election. They see him as the vanguard that's going to keep them from having to vote for the person that they really don't like. Because if they think about it this way, if they have to be put in a situation where they have to choose between Trump and Bernie Sanders, then they're going to have to decide whether or not they ever meant that vote blue, no matter whose sentiment at all. It's going to put them on the spot, and they don't want that. They don't want to be shown to be a bunch of goddamn liars. They don't want to be shown to be a bunch of fucking shills and authoritarians, which they've basically done that already to the point where it's impossible for them to deny to our faces. But they're in their minds, they don't really want to have a situation where oh well, I have to vote for the very person that I spent the better part of 3 years helping, the DNC and the third way crowd and the Clintonistas, tar and feather. I gotta support and vote the guy that the Center for American Progress and other centrist groups have tarnished, have done everything they could to destroy. No, I'm a good little authoritarian. Protect me, centrist Big Daddy. I don't want to vote for the Jew. Oh, I don't want to vote for the mean Jew. Oh. But at the same time, I'm going to hide behind identity politics and say that you're sexist, even though it's not really the same thing because Bernie Sanders is Jewish. Oh. They always reach for the misogyny thing whenever they don't have anything else, but they can't really do that with a Joe Biden versus Sanders kind of situation. So you see more of that with Kamala Harris supporters and former Hillary supporters who fell in with supporting Elizabeth Warren. They always got to reach for the misogyny thing because they have nothing else. They got to take that recycled old Bernie bro crap from the 1990 or originally the Obama bro thing from 2008. Got to package that up and just reuse it over and over again. because they're a bunch of unoriginal shitheads, just like the Trump voters that they themselves, just like these Trumpers out here, unoriginal little shitheads who just want to take, who just want to take the same old shit because they just don't want to sit around. They don't really want to think of any real argument against your candidate. I mean, hell, nobody told them to get behind the one candidate that the GOP had been planning to run against for 35 years, and that they had been gathering opposition research, and that they had specifically put under investigation by the FBI up until up until right before election night. Nobody told them to make that mistake. They did it to themselves. I mean, they knew damn well the GOP was going to play dirty. They knew damn well that Hillary was dead on arrival. I mean, if she couldn't, it's hell. Part of the reason why Barack Obama won in 2008 was because he was the fresh new face. He was charismatic. He wrote his own speeches. He had experience as a community organizer, so he knew how to get the people out to vote. He had a million advantages that Hillary Clinton never had. So I'm just like, hey guys, shouldn't you go with the new guy? The one that Republicans haven't been planning to run against. I know I'm kicking a dead horse with another dead horse here. And I'm going down old ground on this, but these people. I mean, these Biden supporters. It's like they're looking at every candidate they can and saying he's going to be my get out of voting for Bernie Sanders, and showing my free card, so I don't have to threaten to stay home on election day, which would make me a hypocrite. They don't want to show their hypocrisy, because I really do believe that if Bernie Sanders gets the nomination, some of these people are honestly going to do what Hillary Clinton's supporters did in 2008. I think they will jump ship and vote for either Donald Trump or stay home on election day. I really do believe, because they did it at a much higher rate than Bernie Sanders supporters did in 2016. They want to deny it all they want, but I mean, they're the one group who have shown less loyalty to the Democratic Party's coalition than anyone, but they're the one group that also wants to be the biggest bunch of fucking gatekeepers on the planet when it comes to being a Democrat. There's they're more full of shit than a Christmas turkey. So, I mean, it is what it is, but these people do not want Bernie Sanders as the nominee of the Democratic Party, because they'll have to show their true colors. they they're going to have to prove they're going to have to be put they're going to be put on the spot. I know I'm stuttering a lot. I picked up stuttering in the last few years because of one of my coworkers has a stuttering issue, and I sort of picked up my old stuttering issue, and I'm sorry, it makes me sound like a fucking jerk dick, but these former Hillary supporters don't want to be put on the spot. They don't want a situation where they have to put up or shut up on all that vote blue no matter who garbage they've been spouting since many of them started getting behind Biden and Kamala Harris. They do not want to be put in that situation, because they know what they'll do if they're put in that situation. I mean, it'll kill whatever credibility they ever had. Not like they had any to begin with, but they don't want it to be that out in the open. The whole point of preventing Bernie Sanders from getting the nomination for these people is about them being able to save face. That's all it comes down to. They don't want a situation where they have to suck it up like they expect the rest of us to. They have this mentality where they've convinced themselves that they somehow own our votes, regardless of how dirty they do us, regardless of how many times they try to tell us to go stand in the corner. And I'm going to tell you right now, this shit's going to end just as badly as it did in 2016. So if you're a former Hillary supporter, former Clinton supporter who's thrown his or her lot in behind Joe Biden, and you're making up a bunch of shit about us, if you want to shit on us just like you have for the past 3 years, hey, you better get ready, because you're about to live through 4 more years of Donald Trump if you screw this up. Tread softly. This is socialism on roids. Peace out, guys.